AMT. Innovating, educating, changing lives.
I have been living in Massachusetts my whole life, and I am a dance studio owner. I enjoy really anything in the arts or music. I love theater, I love painting. I also enjoy swimming when it's warm enough out to do so. I like spending time with family and friends, but most of my time is spent dancing. Medical issues are kind of a long list. A few of them include gastroparesis. Primarily that is an issue digesting food properly, and so it slows the stomach, paralysis of the stomach, and it makes it really difficult to take things in orally, and I go through fluctuations in the severity. So sometimes I require 24/7 tube feeding. Other times I can eat more, and it kind of goes back and forth. I never really know, and the prognosis is unknown. So I just push on through and do the best I can, take it a day at a time. When I first started using a feeding tube in 2011, I was actually really relieved because I was so malnourished and I felt awful and I felt out of control of my own body. So that was early on. And I definitely went through times where I didn't like it and I didn't want to deal with it and I didn't want it because I've tried a slew of different ones, ranging from nasal-jejunal tubes, which go through your nose, down your throat, bypass your stomach, and sit in your intestines. And after I tried some of those and we realized it was going to be long-term, I switched to abdominal feeding tubes. I've had both G tubes, which stay in your stomach, and GJET tubes, which are a combination, both aligned to your stomach and down into your intestines. And I've tried a lot of different products, including long tubes or danglers, which have a tube that comes out and stays hanging. My experiences with those have been mixed. It's not the most comfortable, it's not the most convenient, trying to figure out where to put it when it's not in use. It hasn't been easy. It's been a journey. I have had times in the past 5 years where I've wanted to give up. I've had times where I didn't know if I could keep going because I just had so many failed attempts at getting adequate and consistent nutrition through a feeding tube. My biggest problem was probably frequent migration. So when I had a tube that was supposed to stay in my intestines or my jejunum, it would flip up into my stomach and become dislodged, which would not help me with the gastroparesis because I couldn't take anything into my stomach and it would be painful. So that was really difficult, and I tried a lot of different tubes on the market to try to fix that problem, and it was over and over again. Place the tube, flip it, and then replace the tube, try a different one. It's been tough. There was also a few times when I had issues with the balloon, or one time I had one kind of stuck in my abdominal wall, it had just slipped into the wrong place. That was really painful. So There was a few problems that just kept sending me to the ER and then to interventional radiology. So it was kind of a revolving door for me with frequent changes before I got the GJET. I first learned about AMT, I believe, at the Oli Foundation conference. I saw the table and I went over and looked at some of the products, talked to some of the individuals that were behind the table, asked questions, checked brochures. I also won a raffle from AMT. It was a nice bonus before I ever used one of their tubes. But as I went through a lot of different kinds of tubes from various manufacturers, and it just wasn't working and was not the right thing for me, I remembered AMT, and I kept doing more research and asking people about their experiences and looking at the tube, and it just seemed like it might be a good fit. When I came across the AMT GJET, there was something intriguing about it, but on top of that, I really felt like it was a last hope for me, because I had gone through just so many brands and so many kinds within those brands. And quite frankly, I also had physicians that were getting frustrated and kind of giving up on me. I went to my doctor and I said, look, there's this tube and there's this company and it looks really good and I want to try it. And the issue at first was that the hospital that I'm seen at did not, I guess, really affiliate with AMT. They didn't carry AMT's products. They didn't really know much about them. And so there was this barrier that I couldn't really penetrate because I was just the patient. At one point, I was going to switch hospitals to try the tube, and then finally, I was told that they were going to give AMT a shot. It was kind of like, let's try this one more tube. Let's see if it's any different. I want to get my life back. I want to keep dancing. And so it was really important to keep pushing until I got to try the tube, and I'm certainly glad that I did. I have been able to live my life to the fullest with my GJET intact. It really doesn't affect my day-to-day schedule. It's comfortable. I am a stomach sleeper, always have been, and I have tried with all the different tubes to stay sleeping on my stomach, and for a lot of them I had to kind of adjust with a pillow or exactly how I was laying. And with this tube, I can lay flat on my stomach like the tube isn't even there. It doesn't affect how active I am. I dance, so I'm very active. I'm always on the go, always moving. I can roll around on the floor and it's still in place. It hasn't migrated, which so many of the other tubes have done, so that's of course huge for me and my doctors. And the amount of time I can go between switching out for a routine change has been significantly longer than my past experiences, which is really nice. I replaced the GJET through interventional radiology every 3 to 5 months, but since I've had it, we've been stretching more 4 to 5 months because we've been able to see that it can last and it really has very little wear and tear even when I go 5 months to have it changed out for a new one. So it's just easy and it's comfortable and it glows in the dark, and that's kind of fun. So It really hasn't changed anything significantly in my life, except that it's been a better choice by far and a better experience than previous tubes that I've had, because those tubes did create issues and did interrupt what I wanted to do and what I could do, and this tube is different. If I was approached by someone that was on their way to getting their first feeding tube, whatever kind that may be, I would encourage them to really listen to their bodies and to learn as much as they can about the feeding tube. Also, that it's okay if you're not perfect with it. You can still live with a feeding tube, and it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the life that you know. It's okay to have a feeding tube. There's nothing wrong with it, and it's gonna save your life. I would say almost every person I've encountered that didn't know me beforehand, that I tell them about my feeding tube, are really surprised. I'm still just me, and I'm just living my life, and it's almost like just a limb, you know? I got my arm, I got my leg, I got my feeding tube. It's just there, so